Hello everyone, I'm Feynman. Today I'm hoping to learn about how the physical spaces around us impact our minds and behaviors. I've invited Aristotle to help explain these concepts to me, drawing from a literature review on environmental psychology.
I'm happy to be here, Feynman. I'm Aristotle, and I've been studying this literature review on the psychological impact of physical environments. It bridges the gap between intuitive design and the scientific understanding of how spaces affect us, and I'll try to explain its core ideas in simple terms.
That sounds fascinating, Aristotle. I've always felt that certain places make me feel a certain way, but I never knew there was a formal field studying it. Could you start by explaining what environmental psychology is and why it's important?
Certainly, Feynman. The literature review highlights that environmental psychology is the formal study of how our physical surroundings influence our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Historically, practitioners like architects relied on intuition, but this field provides empirical evidence and prediction for these environment-behavior relationships. It's important because it moves us from anecdotal observations to a structured, scientific understanding.
So, it's about proving scientifically what designers have felt intuitively. And where has this field traditionally focused its attention?
Exactly. The review notes that historically, environmental psychology focused on settings like workplaces, homes, and institutions such as hospitals and schools. More recently, it has expanded into commercial spaces, particularly retail stores, recognizing that the physical design is an active element shaping our experience, not just a passive backdrop.
That makes sense. A store's layout or lighting can definitely make me want to stay longer or leave quickly. How does this field break down the complex relationship between a space and our behavior?
The review presents a helpful conceptual framework, often referred to as the Stimulus-Organism Response, or SOR model. It maps the journey from objective environmental features to our final actions. First, there are the environmental dimensions, the actual physical inputs like temperature, lighting, noise, scent, the layout of the space, and even signs and decor. These are the objective stimuli.
Okay, so that's the stimulus part. What comes next?
Next is the organism part. These objective stimuli aren't experienced directly. They are filtered through our perception and influenced by moderators. Perception is our subjective interpretation of the environment, and moderators are individual differences, like our personality or preferences, that shape how we experience that space.
So, the same room can feel different to different people because of who they are? That's where the organism comes in, our internal filters.
Precisely. And after perception, we have internal responses. These are the immediate psychological and physiological reactions, our thoughts, our emotions like pleasure or stress, and even bodily responses like changes in heart rate. Finally, these internal responses lead to behavior, the observable outcomes, like whether an employee wants to stay at their job or a customer decides to buy something.
This SOR model sounds very logical. It moves from the external environment, through our internal experience, to our actions. You mentioned perception is key. How do we actually perceive these environments?
That's a great question, Feynman. The review discusses two main theories of perception. Brunswick's probabilistic lens model suggests we use various environmental cues, each with a certain probability of being accurate, to make judgments. Gibson's ecological perception model, on the other hand, proposes a more direct process where we recognize inherent meanings, or affordances, within the environment itself.
So, one model says we infer meaning from cues, and the other says the meaning is already there for us to detect. That's an interesting distinction. What about the meaning part you mentioned? How do we attach meaning to places?
The literature review explains environmental meaning as the cognitive and emotional significance we attach to a place. This can include things like place attachment, what the place communicates ideologically, or even what it says about us personally. This meaning then leads to an aesthetic appraisal, where we judge the space, feel emotions about it, and have a physiological response, which can then lead to behavior.
It seems like our personal characteristics, the moderators, are really important in all of this. Can you elaborate on how personality and preferences influence our experience of a space?
Absolutely. The review highlights personality as a key moderator. For instance, there's the concept of screening, how well we filter out environmental stimuli. Low screeners are sensitive to everything, while high screeners tune out non-essential information. Studies show that environmental effects, like the impact of wall color on stress or arousal, are much more pronounced for low screeners than for high screeners.
So, if I'm a low screener, a brightly colored room might really affect my mood. But if I'm a high screener, I might not even notice the color. That's a powerful idea, especially for places like hospitals, where people might already be sensitive.
Exactly. The review suggests color might be more critical in healthcare settings for this reason. Environmental preferences also act as moderators. If you prefer a certain feature, like listening to your own music in a hospital, it can significantly reduce anxiety. Similarly, more attractive spaces are generally less stressful.
It's clear now that our internal state and preferences are crucial. What are some of the empirical findings about how specific environmental factors actually influence behavior?
The review details several key findings. In retail settings, for example, Donovan and Rossiter found that store atmosphere, represented by pleasure and arousal, significantly mediates shopping behaviors like how long a customer stays and how much they intend to spend. So, a pleasant and arousing store environment encourages approach behaviors.
So, the feel of a store, driven by its atmosphere, directly impacts our spending and how long we browse. What about aesthetics more broadly?
Research shows that aesthetically pleasing environments enhance well-being, increase task persistence, people work longer on tasks, and can even promote altruistic behavior. Conversely, unattractive environments can have negative effects. Even pleasant scents, combined with positive interactions, can improve performance and helpfulness.
That's remarkable. It seems like even small details can have a ripple effect. You also mentioned environmental cues influencing interpersonal perception. How does that work?
The review points out that environments and objects within them act as communicators. For instance, a space with small dimensions, white walls, and bright lighting can create a negative impression, like a cell, leading to feelings of anger or stress. This aligns with Brunswick's model, where objective features lead to judgments about the space and its occupants. Studies on office decor found that plants and tidiness positively influence perceptions of the occupant's friendliness and qualifications, though family photos didn't have the same effect.
So the way a space is designed can actually influence how we perceive the people in it. It's like the environment is sending messages. Let me see if I've got this. Environmental psychology studies how physical spaces affect us. It uses a framework like SOR, where environmental stimuli are filtered through our perception and personal moderators, leading to internal responses and then observable behaviors. Key factors include ambient conditions, space layout, and signs. And our perception is influenced by theories like Brunswick's and Gibson's. Personality and preferences are crucial moderators, and empirical studies show clear links between store atmosphere, aesthetics, and even interpersonal perceptions and our behavior.
That's an excellent and comprehensive summary, Feynman. You've grasped the core concepts perfectly. The review emphasizes that by understanding these mechanisms, designers and practitioners can intentionally create spaces that actively shape human behavior for the better, fostering well-being and productivity.
I feel like I could explain this to someone now. The idea that our environments aren't just backdrops, but active participants in shaping our lives is profound. Thank you for breaking down this literature review so clearly, Aristotle.
You've truly understood it, Feynman. That's the power of breaking down complex ideas, I'm glad I could help make this fascinating field of environmental psychology more accessible.